the ultimate goal here seems clear to me, and that is force the Trump administration to catch and release, essentially do what the Obama administration had been doing for 8 years, and then force the Trump administration to end its zero tolerance policy, which is, it sounds so stark and so mean, but all zero tolerance means is, hey, we're actually going to enforce immigration law. But all of this is being done by judicial fiat, not the constitutional way.
That's right. Yeah, that's right. California absolutely had a choice, and they took the choice to continue to provoke and antagonize the administration. And what happens is the collateral damage is resident safety and local control. And that's the part that's the most frustrating, is that now, as a city, we become pawns in this activity with the state of California, as they're trying to tell us what we can and cannot do and whether we can actually work the federal government. It's ridiculous.
All right, so in your city, the fight continues. Actually, the ACLU is suing your city shortly after you joined the Trump administration in this opposition to what is called SB 54, but really it's a law now. It's the law born of SB 54. You chose to opt out of the law, SB 54, which essentially says it prohibits state and local police agencies from informing federal authorities in cases when illegal immigrants facing deportation are released from detention. Let's start with the basics. So the ACLU is suing your city. Who are their clients exactly? Is it Moonbeam?
No, because the ACLU has to find clients, they found a church in our city and some residents to kind of get behind them. And really what they're saying is that, look, you have no right to do what you're doing, so we're going to try and stop you. So our case continues on. The ACLU case. We have a hearing coming up in July. And again, at this point, this is a related case to what's happening with the U.S. versus the state of California.
Right.
But it's definitely something that's a little bit different. Like you said at the beginning of this segment, it's about the checks and balances between the state, federal, and local jurisdictions. We are dealing specifically with the local versus the state.
Now, like Los Angeles and other major metropolitan areas in California, I think San Diego and San Francisco too, they're charter cities. Just very briefly, without getting too deep into the weeds, charter cities have more autonomy over what is dictated out of Sacramento. Is that correct?
That's right. Charter cities, by the California Constitution, can basically do a couple of very special things. They can raise taxes, they can start a police department, and then within that police, they set priorities. So when Governor Brown and Becerra, those guys go through and say, hey, look, we're not going to let our police department work with the federal government. As a city that's a charter city, we take exception to that because it's not their police department. Our city taxpayers paid for that police department, and we're going to continue to prioritize what we want to focus on.
So that is the issue, right? And the issue is very simply, can Governor Moonbeam and company dictate to you, your charter city, Los Alamitos, how to use your police, right? Isn't that the crux of the matter?
That's right. Local control. It's our local control. A lot of people argue, hey, as the mayor of Los Alamitos, you guys don't have a huge detention center like the county of Orange, the county of San Diego. But, I always tell people, look 5 to 10 years out. If you start losing local control, pretty soon, why don't we just turn our entire police department over to the state government? And with our taxpayers, that won't work.
Okay, so the federal judge throws out most of the case that the Trump administration had brought against the law born of SB 54 and all the municipalities like yourself that had conjoined that legal action. And the judge essentially said that doing nothing, forcing your police force to do nothing, is not getting in the way of executing the law. But to me, it seems to me he's wrong. And by the way, this is a Bush appointee, George W. Bush appointee, who made this ruling. This is dereliction of duty. To me, it's tantamount to a firefighter standing there and watching a building burn.
Yeah. Something, it is disappointing. I think the judge got it wrong, but, something I think, I've been dealing with the Attorney General's office since I did the trip to D.C. to meet with President Trump and Attorney General Jeff Sessions. We always knew and thought that this would have to be decided at the Supreme Court. The issue with this case, the issue with our case, is that there are not case law they're able to fall back on. So the judge is interpreting the laws that he has. I mean, if you look closely at the case ruling, basically what they did is they used an ERISA example, which is basically tax law jurisdiction, not law enforcement jurisdiction. And I think that's the thing that this is making the highlight, is this case needs to be appealed and needs to move itself to Supreme Court so we have case law.
Want to see more videos like this? Click on the link below and subscribe to One America News on YouTube, and call your cable provider and kindly demand that One America News is added to your lineup. Call and subscribe today.